Imagine waking up in a small northern town, stepping out of your bedroom, walking down a hallway, and in a few seconds, you're suddenly in another country. No guards, no fences, just a thin line cutting straight through the building. For the man in our story, it's an ordinary morning. But that line has been there for decades, and most people have lived right next to it, visiting each other's homes without ever noticing that an international border slices through their streets and even their houses. Then, one day, everything changes. What was once a quirky geographic oddity turns into a constant source of disputes, new rules, and situations that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. The deeper you dig into the history of this border, the more absurd it becomes, because its origin lies in decisions made long before modern maps, satellites, or even many of the towns that now sit on the line. Today, we'll travel through one of the planet's strangest borders and hear the unbelievable stories that unfold where a single thin line on the floor separates two nations. Picture a typical morning in the United States. You stroll down a street, push open a heavy wooden door, and step into a library. You greet the librarian, then take exactly 10 steps forward to reach the shelf you need. The moment your hand brushes the spine of the book, you've crossed into Canada. A thick black line runs across the floor of that reading room. It's not a decorative stripe, it's a real, legal border. You could sit on a chair in one country while your feet rest in the other. And it gets even more absurd. On the second floor of the same building sits an opera house. The wooden stage is in Canada, but the rows of plush seats are in the United States. The audience applauds from a different nation than the performers. It sounds like a joke, but the rules are brutally strict. The building has two doors, an American door and a Canadian door. If you entered through the American door, you must exit through the same door, slip out the Canadian door, and border agents will haul you in on the spot. Patrolling cars linger outside. A single misstep can earn you a fine of several $1,000s and a trip to a holding cell. When people first see photos of that library, they can't believe their eyes. The internet erupts with wild theories. The most popular claim is that the building was deliberately constructed on the line as a clever tax shelter. Shrewd businessmen hiding money by straddling the border. Others swear the library served as a secret spy base for decades, with agents slipping in as ordinary readers, passing documents across a table without ever technically crossing the line. Conspiracy fans now argue it's a hub for smugglers, moving contraband from one window to the next, while the police look the other way.
The truth is far simpler and kinder. Over 100 years ago, a very wealthy family wanted to give something back to the local community. In 1904, they erected that grand building right on the border, hoping Canadians and Americans could read, learn, and enjoy performances together. They wanted to prove that friendship mattered more than any line on a map. Both nations' border services appreciated the gesture, signed a unique treaty, and allowed the library to operate. It remains the only structure of its kind in the world. But there's a stark difference between deliberately building on a border and having the border carve itself through your life, splitting your bedroom in half. Let's drive a little farther. Along the line, we reach the town of Derby Line. At first glance, it looks like any other residential suburb. Tidy lawns, quiet streets, parked cars. Yet the border cuts right through ordinary homes.
An invisible line slices kitchens, bathrooms, and living rooms. Residents brew coffee on the Canadian side of the kitchen, then walk across the line to sip it on the American side of the couch. The line even halves their beds. Living in such a house is an endless bureaucratic nightmare. Imagine having to pay property tax. You can't just send money to one government, you must hire a lawyer, calculate the exact square meters that fall in each country, and file two separate piles of paperwork. Now picture a kitchen fire.
You call emergency services, but the dispatchers from the two nations first consult a map to decide which side of the house is burning. If the flames are in the Canadian half, a Canadian fire truck rolls out. If they're in the American half, an American unit responds. Summer brings a wave of tourists with cameras, knocking on doors to snap photos of themselves with one foot in the US and the other in Canada.
Many think these houses are perfect hideouts from police. Run into a home, take 2 steps, and the officers can't arrest you because you're now standing in another jurisdiction. The internet buzzes with the idea that owners live outside the law. It's not a glitch, it's a relic of old technology. Over a century ago, politicians ordered the border to follow the 45th parallel precisely. They sent ordinary surveyors into dense forests and swamps, armed only with heavy brass compasses and ropes, guided by stars and constantly exhausted. They missed the mark by hundreds of meters, drawing a crooked line. When laser-precise instruments arrived, too many houses, roads and stores already sat on the erroneous line. Both governments decided not to move anyone, avoiding the displacement of thousands of families. It's easy to understand a compass error in a tangled forest, but when straight lines are drawn on paper without regard for terrain, whole towns can end up on the wrong side. Welcome to Point Roberts. This picturesque town hugs the Pacific coast, home to about 1,000 residents. It has its own schools, post office, supermarkets, and gas stations, a fully functioning piece of the United States. Residents pay American taxes and vote in US elections. Yet the town sits on a tiny peninsula that juts out of Canadian land, surrounded on 3 sides by cold water. The only road connecting Point Roberts to the rest of the US passes through Canada. You can't simply hop in a car and drive to the neighboring American state. It's physically impossible. To reach the mainland, locals endure a real-life quest. They drive to the border, flash passports, travel 40 kilometers through Canada, then undergo another strict checkpoint before finally arriving in Washington state. High school students suffer especially. The town lacks a senior high school, so kids board a bus each day, crossing the international border twice in the morning and twice again in the evening. When the global pandemic shut borders, Point Roberts was effectively sealed off, its residents trapped on a small slice of land cut off from the rest of their country. On a map, the place looks like a lonely speck, an orphaned parcel of US territory. Conspiracy theorists whisper that Point Roberts is a social experiment, a controlled pocket where the government studies human behavior in isolation. Others claim a massive secret military base lurks beneath the schools and stores, and that the elaborate passport checks on the lone road exist solely to deter curious tourists. The reality is far less dramatic. It stems from human oversight. In 1846, diplomats gathered in a warm London office to divide the continent. They chose the easiest method, a wooden ruler. They drew a straight line along the 49th parallel, declaring everything below the line American, everything above Canadian. They never even looked at the actual coastline. That blind line sliced off the tip of the peninsula, permanently severing it from the rest of the US. Residents begged officials to shift the border northward, but the paperwork was already signed. If a simple ruler can wreck lives on land, imagine what it does on water. Far north lies an even stranger spot called the Northwest Angle. It's a piece of American land trapped inside a massive Canadian lake. Reaching it by road from the rest of the United States is impossible. In summer, locals must boat across the water, hopping from wave to wave. In harsh winter, they travel over cracking ice. If you simply need fresh bread or a doctor's appointment, you're forced to drive through Canada on a gravel road. The most surreal part of that border is a lone wooden shack deep in the forest, barely more than a shed. Inside hangs a plain tablet. Drivers must stop, step out in any weather, enter the shack,
tap a button, and video call a remote officer. They flash their passport to the camera and honestly state their destination. If the forest's internet vanishes, crossing the border becomes illegal. The isolation fuels eerie legends. Tourists imagine locals have formed an independent state, immune to any law. Others fear the area could spark a military flashpoint at any moment, which is why authorities avoid posting live border guards there, relying instead on hidden cameras and remote monitoring. These tales are just that, tales. The root cause is old paperwork. In the late 1700s, after a long conflict, policymakers used a map drawn by a man named John Mitchell. Mitchell had never visited the region. He sketched the lakes based on sailors' rumors and folklore. He got the shape dramatically wrong. When actual cartographers arrived, they discovered the point described in the treaty didn't exist at all. To honor the agreement, they forced a line through water and bog, creating the detached slice of land we see today. To make the invisible border visible in the dense northern forest, they literally cut a corridor through the continent. If you wander off the tourist trail into the wilderness, you'll encounter a truly chilling sight. A perfectly straight, 6-meter-wide strip of cleared land slicing through thick, ancient pine forest. The trees on either side stand like sentinels, then abruptly stop, revealing a clean, empty band that stretches as far as the eye can see. Look right, and the corridor disappears into the horizon. Look left, and the same stark scene repeats. It cuts across towering mountains, plunges into rocky gorges, and traverses soggy marshes without ever turning a corner. There are no towering concrete walls, no asphalt, no barbed wire, just short, trimmed grass and occasional iron posts. The sight sends a cold shiver down your spine. In nature, you never find such a massive, perfectly straight geometric line. Local hunters say even wild animals sometimes hesitate to cross that unnatural void. In winter, a deep blanket of snow covers the corridor, turning it into an endless runway for something gigantic. When unsuspecting hikers stumble upon this cleared path, their brains reject the reality in front of them. Online forums explode with the wildest theories. Some claim the strip is a secret laser test site. Others argue a massive underground cable or pipeline lies beneath the grass, linking hidden bunkers of the two nations. Mystics whisper it's an ancient power line. Compasses go haywire, time feels distorted, and strange lights flicker at night. Some even label it a glitch in the very matrix of our world. The truth, though less sensational, is equally massive. This is the longest artificial deforestation on the planet, stretching for thousands of kilometers. Trees are living organisms. They grow, their roots spread. Shrubs quickly reclaim empty ground. If left alone, nature would swallow the corridor within a few years. That's why an international commission maintains a hefty budget and a legion of tough workers. Every 15 years, these crews grab heavy machetes and chainsaws, trek into the remote wilderness, set up camp for weeks, battle swarms of mosquitoes, fend off bears, and labor in scorching heat. They manually cut millions of young trees, a grueling, never-ending task, all to keep the imagined line from the old paper treaties visible in the real world. For a long time, that vast clearing was the most peaceful place on Earth. Locals crossed it casually to gather mushrooms or visit neighbors, never thinking about paperwork. The fragile peace held on simple human trust, until one day, that trust shattered. What was once a whimsical geographic curiosity became a harsh test of authority. If you travel to those split-house towns today, the atmosphere is unrecognizable. Children no longer run freely across the street, hopping between countries. Heavy concrete blocks now litter the asphalt. Roads are blocked by gigantic flower pots. Surveillance cameras perch on every pole, recording each movement. New segments regularly showcase absurd incidents. A man steps out to buy pizza across the street, takes a single misstep over the invisible line, and is instantly surrounded by patrol cars with wailing sirens. The sense of freedom evaporates, replaced by a constant, sticky tension. Residents joke that they're being used to test a total control system.
Their once cozy towns have become a perfect testing ground for new cameras, sensors, and drones. From the outside, it feels like the start of a bleak dystopia, a world where every step, every glance of the head is judged by a soulless machine, ready to punish the slightest mistake. Why did it all come to this? The answer lies in events of the early 2000s. After high-profile tragedies, global safety standards tightened dramatically. Nations could no longer leave doors ajar. International laws collided with everyday life, forcing the installation of cameras, the embedding of seismic sensors in grass, and the imposition of strict policing rules. We've seen buildings split by foreign black tape, homes cut in half because a tired surveyor misread a compass, entire towns trapped by inaccurate paper maps, and a massive, empty line carving through the forest. The story of this absurd border proves one vital truth. These lines don't exist in nature. They're inventions drawn on paper, yet once inked, they acquire terrifying power, reshaping real lives. Our world is always more complicated than it appears. If you found this journey into the weirdest border on the planet fascinating, share your thoughts in the comments below. Like, spread the word, and stay tuned. More strange stories are on the way.